안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everybody, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul and KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. If you've ever wanted to sing Korean songs, write a letter in Korean, be able to get around in Korea, or just jumpstart your Korean learning, you're in the right place. Even if you're an absolute beginner to Korean, by the time you're done with this series, you'll be able to read and write Hangul like a pro. And you'll get a feel for Korean culture and learn some vocabulary at the same time. We will start by covering the 10 vowels and 14 consonants of written Korean. As you learn these components, you will also get plenty of practice writing and reading them with example words. Then we will talk about double consonants and vowels, the 받침, and the pronunciation rules that will help you speak like a native. By the end of this series, you will be able to understand the language on a whole new level and have completed an important milestone in mastering Korean. Hana Hana means step by step in Korean. And that's just how we're going to tackle the Hangul. Just watch these videos, review what you've learned using the resources on KoreanClass101.com. And you're on your way to mastering Hangul. We will start with some very good news. Hangul is easy. For one thing, it has much fewer characters than, say, Japanese or Chinese. There are only 24. We use these 24 characters in different combinations to form syllables. Each block of characters equals one syllable. Here's an important rule you need to know about these blocks. Each block needs at least one consonant and one vowel. You will see what we mean when we start to look at some characters. In Hangul, there are 10 vowels and 14 consonants. Today, you will learn 2 of the vowels and 1 consonant. Are you ready? Your first vowel is E.
E.
This is pretty easy, right? Practice writing this character as you say the pronunciation out loud. As you say this simple sound, it might surprise you to know that you're actually saying a Korean word. This word means teeth, E. So how would you write this word? Like this? Nope. Remember the rule we mentioned earlier? Every block needs at least one consonant and one vowel. But in this case of E, there is no consonant, so instead we put a placeholder. The circle called an iung acts as a placeholder for the consonant. So whenever you have a vowel on its own, this placeholder comes before it. Draw the E vowel to the right of the placeholder. So when you want to write the word E, or the syllable E, in the middle of another word, this is how you would write it. Pretty easy so far, right? Now if you take the last character and add a short stroke to the right side, it becomes your second vowel, A.
A.
As you practice the pronunciation, try to associate the sound with the character. Writing it while saying it really helps. Pop quiz! With what you know so far, try to figure out how to write this Korean word. A-E. Once more, A-E. This is the character you just learned, followed by the first character you learned today. Remember what we learned about the placeholders? You need to put the placeholder circles next to each vowel sound when they stand on their own. And that's how you write ai, which is the Korean word for child. Ai. Are you starting to get the hang of it? You've just finished your first Hangul lesson, and you've learned 3 of the 24 basic characters. In the next lesson, you will learn 3 more. Keep taking it Hana Hana step by step and keep practicing with KoreanClass101.com. You will be surprised how fast you master Korean writing. 여러분, 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. You're off to a great start on your Korean language journey. Just take this lesson step by step. Make sure you review after each one, and soon you will be reading Korean like a pro. Here's a great way to review what you've learned. Look at some actual Korean writing. You may not know the meanings or most of the characters, but practice recognizing what you have learned. After each lesson, you'll recognize a little bit more. Today, you're going to learn 3 more vowels. Let's get started. First, here are the characters you learned in the last lesson. A, I, and iung. Your next character looks pretty similar, so pay attention to the differences. A. Listen carefully to the pronunciation.
어,
Now pay attention to these 2 characters. It might be easy to confuse the 2. If the small strokes is on the left, it is A.
어,
If it is on the right, it is A.
아,
If you can remember this one point, the rest of this lesson will be easy. The next character is this, Ya. Listen carefully to the pronunciation.
여,
This sound has a lot in common with the last character's sound, doesn't it? The only difference is the Y sound in Ya. The second short stroke will add a Y sound. You will see this pattern pop up again in the next character. So if this is A, what would this character be? Can you guess? The answer is Ya.
야,
The second short stroke will add a Y sound. Take a look at these 4 similar characters together.
어, 아, 여, 야,
Can you remember these characters? Here are a few vocabulary words to practice. Can you read this word? This is ya, which is an informal way to say hey in Korean. You might hear this word in Korean drama or songs. Ya. How about this? This is aya, which means ouch. Great job! You made it through another lesson and now know half of the vowels in Korean. Keep practicing and soon we will be able to read Korean quickly and naturally. Remember this from the beginning of the lesson? After just 3 more vowels, you should be able to recognize much more of it. Try to recognize these characters in some real-life Korean around you. In the next lesson, you will learn the rest of the vowels. In the meantime, keep reviewing what you've learned, and I'll see you later. 여러분 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul and KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In this lesson, you'll finish up the Korean vowels. With a solid understanding of the 10 vowel sounds, pronouncing Korean will become really easy. So make sure to review until you feel completely confident. Compare these 5 new vowels to the 5 you already know. What's the obvious difference? The answer is that the vowels we learned before all have a long vertical stroke, and these new vowels have a long horizontal stroke. In fact, if you rotated the first 5 vowels, you would end up with the new vowels we're going to learn today. When writing syllables in Korean, it's important to think about whether the vowel you are using is a tall vowel or a fat vowel. The reason is that the way you assemble the characters into blocks will change depending on the shape of the vowel. For example, you know what to do when the vowel is tall, right? You add the consonant to the left of the vowel. But if the vowel is fat, you would add the consonant on top. Think about it like this. You need to fill up a square, so the consonant adjusts to fill the rest of the space. Here is your first fat vowel, O.
O.
O. Here's a good way to remember this one. The small stroke is over the long stroke. O. Flip that character over and you get the next vowel, U.
U.
U. You can remember this pronunciation by thinking of the small stroke being under the large stroke. How about some vocabulary words? Can you read this word? This is 오이, which means cucumber. How about this word? This is 여우, which means fox. You now know 4 vowels that are made from a long stroke and a short stroke. Take a look at them together. From the top going clockwise, you have
O.
오,
아.
아,
우.
우,
어.
When you add another short stroke, a Y sound is added to the front of these sounds. Add another short stroke to U and it becomes 요.
요.
요. Likewise, take U and add another short stroke and it becomes 유.
유.
유. Can you read these 4 vowels now? Counterclockwise from the top.
요.
요,
여.
여,
유.
유,
야.
야. One more. 으.
으.
으. The shape of this vowel actually resembles the shape of your mouth when you say it. Now for some example words. Can you read this? This is 우유, which means milk. And this? This is 요. It's a formal sentence ending particle. You put it at the end of a sentence to make it polite. For example, 우유요. How about this word? It's 이유, which means reason. There you go! You've just learned all the basic vowels in Korean. These vowels will appear in every single syllable of Korean, so the more you know them now, the easier future lessons will be. In the next lesson, you will start learning consonant sounds. This is where your Korean ability will really start to take off. So be sure to watch the next lesson at koreanclass101.com. 여러분, 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분, koreanclass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everybody, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul and koreanclass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In this lesson, you'll begin to add consonants to the 10 vowels you've already learned. By the end, you'll be able to read and write 40 different syllables, which will unlock many more Korean words. Ready for your first consonant? Here it is. 기억. When making syllables, the consonant goes where the circle from the last lessons used to go. Can you guess how these are read?
기,
기,
가,
가,
갸,
캬,
거,
커,
겨,
켜,
그,
그,
구,
구,
규,
규,
고,
고,
교.
교. Remember how some Korean vowels look and sound similar? For example, add another stroke to a and you get ya. The same thing happens with the consonants. In this case, add one more stroke to our last character and we get a very similar sound, kia.
키,
키,
가,
카,
캬,
캬,
커,
커,
켜,
켜,
그,
그,
코,
코,
쿄,
쿄,
구,
구,
규.
규. Can you hear the difference? Ki, gi, ki, gi. The difference is subtle, but it's there. If you're having a hard time, don't worry. We will go into the details of pronunciation in lesson 8, so don't miss it. One more consonant today, hiut.
히,
히,
하,
하,
혀,
혀,
허,
허,
혀,
혀,
흐,
흐,
호,
호,
효,
효,
후,
후,
휴.
휴. You can think of this shape as a hat on a hat, which might help you remember the pronunciation. Now it's time for a few sample words. Can you read all of this correctly? How about this phrase? It's 여기요. It means here please or excuse me. Use it while you are in a Korean restaurant and you want to call the waiter over to your table. 여기요. And this one. It's 가요. This means I'm going. How about this word? 휴가. It means vacation. To create a more complex sentence, 휴가 가요. I'm going on vacation. After just 4 lessons, you're already writing sentences in Korean. Just think what you can learn in a few more. Be sure to watch the next lesson on KoreanClass101.com. 여러분, 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분, KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we started on the consonants and learned 3 of them. Today, we're going to add 4 more consonants and learn how to write more Korean words and phrases. Our first consonant today is ni은.
니,
니,
나,
나,
너,
너,
냐,
냐,
녀,
녀,
느,
느,
노,
노,
누,
누,
뇨,
뉴,
뉴.
뉴. You can think of this character's shape as a tongue pressed against teeth, which is what you do when you make this sound. Try to make this sound and notice the position of your tongue. With this consonant, you can now write two important Korean pronouns. First, na, which means I or me. Second is 너, which is an informal way to say you. We can also write the question word 누구, which means who. Next up is 디귿.
디,
디,
다,
다,
더,
더,
갸,
갸,
뎌,
겨,
드,
드,
도,
도,
두,
두,
듀,
듀,
듀.
듀. When you look at the shape, think about the first line as the dirt and the second line as the path of somebody digging. 디귿. Here's another important question word in Korean. 어디, where. Remember that in our last lesson, we added one more stroke to 기억 in order to make the aspirated version 기억. We will do the same thing with 디귿, adding one more stroke to make the aspirated version 디귿.
티,
티,
타,
타,
터,
터,
튀아,
튀아,
튀어,
튀어,
트,
트,
토,
토,
투,
투,
튀어,
튜,
튜.
튜. You can probably guess the meaning of the next word after hearing it. 기타. It means guitar. Korean has many of these words that come from English with a slight change in pronunciation, such as sticker, artist, and turkey. One more consonant today, and that's 리을.
리,
리,
라,
라,
러,
러,
랴,
랴,
려,
려,
르,
르,
로,
로,
루,
루,
료,
료,
류.
류. Its pronunciation falls somewhere between the English L and R. Think about this shape like a marble rolling down a track. 리을. Here's one more pronoun that you can write today. 우리, which means we or us. You can use this word for both formal and informal situations. And here's the Korean word for radio, which is almost exactly like English. Let's finish this lesson up with a short dialogue. Yep, you now know enough Hangul and vocabulary words to read and write a short exchange between two people. We've learned these words in the previous lessons. Can you read this? Let's look at the first sentence. The first two syllables are 어디, which means where. We learned that one earlier today. The next two syllables are from last lesson, and they mean I'm going, 가요. But if you add a question mark and read the last syllable with a rising tone, the whole sentence means, where are you going? 어디 가요? The second sentence ends with the same two characters but without a question mark. 가요. And the first two characters is 휴가, the Korean word for vacation that we learned last lesson. So what do you think this sentence means? 휴가 가요. I'm going on vacation. Wow, after only 5 lessons, you've come a long way. Just think what you will know in another 5 lessons. But don't forget to take things step by step, reviewing along the way. When you are ready, I'll see you in the next lesson where you will learn even more consonants. See you next time. 여러분 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everybody, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we learned these 4 consonants. You now know well over half of the characters in written Korean. And we will learn another 3 today. Ready? Let's go! Our first character is really easy to remember. It's just a square. 미음.
미,
미,
마,
마,
냐,
며,
머,
머,
며,
며,
무,
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 뮤,
뮤,
모,
모,
묘.
묘. To remember the sound of this character, you could think about the shape of a monitor or an open mouth. Try to read this. 머리. This means head. Let's look at this character again. Think of this like a box. Now press the top of it down until the air inside it is under more pressure. What does an sound like when it's under more pressure? B.
비,
비,
바,
바,
펴,
펴,
퍼,
버,
펴,
벼,
프,
브,
보,
보,
표,
표,
푸,
푸,
뷰.
뷰. Here's a word you will often hear on Korean TV. 바보. This means fool. It can either be playful or rude depending on how it's said. So be careful. Let's go back to our box under pressure. If we add any more pressure, it might explode. And then it would look like this. What's a B sound like with even more pressure? P.
피,
피,
파,
파,
펴,
펴,
퍼,
퍼,
펴,
펴,
프,
프,
포,
포,
표,
표,
푸,
푸,
퓨.
퓨. Try reading this word. 피부. This means skin. And here is a phrase that you might have to use in Korea. 아파요. It means I'm sick or it hurts. You can use some words from past lessons to make this sentence more advanced. In the last lesson, we learned the word where, 어디. You can add this to the phrase and get 어디 아파요? Literally, it means where does it hurt? And you already know a few body part words. Remember the word for head? 머리. So, how would you say your head hurts? We can say 머리 아파요. My head hurts. Or I have a headache. Any other body parts we know? It's a little strange, but we just learned the word for skin. 피부. 피부 아파요. My skin hurts. Nice work! You might have started watching to learn the Korean writing system, but you're also getting a jump start on general Korean knowledge. If you haven't tried out the audio lessons on KoreanClass101.com, now's a great chance to try out some real-life conversations. And you will learn the final 3 consonants in the next lesson. You are only one lesson away from knowing all the unique shapes in Korean. After that, it's just a matter of positioning those shapes around to create different words. Be sure not to miss the next lesson of Hana Hana Hangul. See you next time. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everybody, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul and KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we learned these 3 consonants, only 3 more basic characters left, and we will learn them all in this lesson. All 3 of today's characters are related in shape and in sound. We will start with the simplest one, 시읒.
시,
시,
사,
사,
서,
서,
샤,
샤,
셔,
셔,
스,
스,
소,
소,
수,
수,
쇼,
쇼,
슈.
슈. It's pronounced s. And you can think of the shape like an upside down seesaw. Here's a short sentence which means I buy 사요. You can make this sentence more complex by putting a noun in front of it. So, 노트 is note. I buy notes would be 노트 사요. 우유 means milk. So, I buy milk would be 우유 사요. We will learn some new nouns in this lesson that we can put into this pattern. The next character is like 시읒 with a line at the top, and it's pronounced 즈 or 츠.
지,
지,
자,
자,
저,
저,
자,
자,
저,
저,
즈,
즈,
조,
조,
주,
주,
조,
조,
주.
주. You might see this character written this way depending on which typeface is used. So be ready for it. Now you can write lion in Korean. 사자. To write the last basic character, just add another stroke on top of the 지읒. This is 치읒.
치,
치,
차,
차,
처,
처,
차,
차,
처,
처,
츠,
츠,
초,
초,
추,
추,
초,
초,
추.
추. Here's car in Korean. 차. And here's cheese. cheese. We can combine cheese with the sentence we learned earlier, 사요, to make 치즈 사요. I buy cheese. What else can you buy? 모자 사요. I buy a hat. 차 사요. I buy a car. 바지 사요. I buy pants. 치마 사요. I buy a skirt. You've learned all the basic characters, but your Hangul journey doesn't end here. You now have all the raw materials, but there's still more to learn about putting things together. Don't worry, you've made it this far, so just stick with me a few more lessons and you will know everything there is to know about Hangul. In the next lesson, we'll do a thorough review of the last 6 lessons and smooth out any problems you may be having, and learn a few points about pronunciation. See you next time! 여러분 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everybody, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul and KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. You just made it to an important milestone. You now know all of the characters in written Korean. The rules for combining them and quirks about the pronunciation is the focus of future lessons. But for now, let's take a break from new things and make sure you've got a solid foundation to build on. There are few Korean consonants that sound different, depending on their location in the word. Let's review those consonants. Let's talk about the consonant 기역 first. We learned that it sounds like G of green. But if the consonant 기역 is located at the beginning of the word, it sounds more like 크. Take a look at an example. Do you remember the verb 가요, meaning I go? In this word, 기역 is located at the beginning of the word. So it's not pronounced 가요, it's 가요. It's almost the same as the consonant 기역. However, when 기역 is located in the middle of words, it sounds exactly like G of green. Let's listen to the example. 누가, 누가. In this word, 기역 is located in the middle of the word, so it sounds softer. You can find the same pronunciation rules in the consonants 디귿, 비읍, 지읒, and 리을. Hard sound at the beginning of words, soft sound in the middle. Let's check the examples for each consonant. 다리 and 수도. 다리, 수도, 다리, 수도. 바지 and 바보. 바지, 바보, 바지, 바보. 지구 and 휴지. 지구, 휴지, 지구, 휴지. 라디오 and 도로. 라디오, 도로, 라디오, 도로. And we will return to 기역 once more. 가요 and 누가. 가요, 누가, 가요, 누가. This difference is tricky, but it will really help your pronunciation sound natural. Do you know what an aspirated consonant is? The fact is, Korean is full of them, and you already know them. Aspiration just means that air comes out of your mouth when you say the sound. I'll give you a tip to say the aspirated consonants you already know correctly. Let's look at h and u. When you say h, you can feel that you are breathing out the strong burst of air. That's because this sound is aspirated. U is unaspirated. Nothing comes out. Consonants 기역, 지읒, 디귿, and 비읍 are all unaspirated, but they each have a pair of aspirated sounds. If you read the 기역 as you say 히읗, that is aspirated. 기역, you can hear that the sound becomes a stronger K sound. That's the pronunciation of 기역, the first aspirated consonant. Let's say 히읗 first. Think about how much air is coming out of your mouth when you do this. Then say 기역 with the same amount of air. h, k, h, k. Great job. Let's practice with a word. 크기, 크기, 크기. You can find the same pronunciation rule in the other consonants. 자 plus 하 equals 차, 차지. 다 plus 하 equals 타, 타다. 부 plus 후 equals 부, 포부. One last point today. Here is the chart of 140 sound combinations you can recognize by this point. You should spend some time with this chart before moving on to the next lesson. But for now, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. 15 questions. I show you a character and you tell me how to read it. Try to answer within 3 seconds.
도,
교,
쿄,
뮤,
뮤,
벼,
벼,
스,
스,
퓨,
퓨,
하,
하,
튀,
튀,
라,
라,
여,
여,
처,
처,
기,
기,
려,
려,
누.
누.
Already an expert at these characters? Great! There's plenty more to learn and we are going to get into it in the very next lesson. See you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com Hana Hana Hangul 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com. The fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. You've mastered the 10 basic vowels and the 14 basic consonants. Now you're ready to take your knowledge of the Korean writing system to the next level. That's what we'll be covering in this and future lessons. You will learn special rules for using the characters you already know to express every possible word in Korean language. In the last lesson, we'll introduce aspirated versions of consonants you had already learned. Do you remember the difference between aspirated and non-aspirated sounds? Aspirated means that a puff of air is made when you make the sound. Non-aspirated means that there is no air. Here's an example. 그, non-aspirated, no air. 그, aspirated, air comes out. If you remember, these are the pairs we learned. You can see the non-aspirated versions and aspirated versions of each one. Now I'm going to show you one more variation of these consonants. They are called double consonants. It isn't a new character. It's just a consonant you already know, twice. When a consonant is doubled, it has a heavier, more stressed sound. You'll be able to get a feel for the way they sound by hearing them pronounced. So let's look at a few, starting with 기억. We go from 기 to 기. Notice the much harder consonant sound? It's more tense, and the sound comes from your throat. 기, 기. Don't worry if you don't get it right away. You will need to train your ear to hear the difference. Here's a Korean word that uses this double consonant, 도끼. It means axe. Please listen to these 3 syllables to hear the difference. It's not 기, it's not 키, it's 끼, 도끼. And here is 꼬리, which means tail. Let's hear all 3 기억 sounds side by side now. 길, 길, 길. 골, 콜, 꼴. 간, 간, 간. Next, let's go to 디귿. We go from 도 to 도. It might sound closer to a D sound here. 도. 도 is a word that means again in Korean. Can you read this word? It's 따로. 따로. It means separately. One more for today. 떠다니다. 떠다니다. This means to float. Let's hear all 3 디귿 sounds side by side now. 달, 탈, 딸. 도, 토, 도. 대, 태, 대. Are you getting the hang of it? The good news is not all 14 consonants can be doubled. You can actually only double 5 of them. And you will learn the other 3 in the next lesson. See you then. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. We were in the middle of discussing double consonants, consonants that are written twice and create a very strong sound. We talked about these 2 consonants, and today we will look at 3 new double consonants. You know pa, and you know pa. Remember that pa is non-aspirated, and pa is aspirated. One step stronger would be pa. All you have to do is write piut 2 times next to each other. It's not a brand new character. The differences between them can be hard to tell at first. Listen closely. Pa, pa, pa. Hear how they get more and more tense? Time for an example word. 오빠. This means the older brother of a girl. Now let's hear all 3 consonant sounds in a row side by side. 발, 팔, 발. 배, 배, 배. 아바, 아파, 아빠. Here's the next consonant we can double. 사 becomes sa. We don't have an aspirated version of this consonant. You just need to differentiate these two sounds. 사, sa. If you notice, it sounds like the S sound in sa is being held a little bit longer. 사, sa. Now let's look at some examples. 싸요. This means it's cheap. And 쏘다. This is a verb meaning to fire a gun. Let's compare them one more time. Remember, there is no aspirated version of this consonant. 사다, 싸다. 살, 쌀. 시, 씨. The last consonant that can be doubled is 지읒. We go from 자 to the aspirated version, 차, to the double version, 짜. Listen closely to the difference between the two. 차, 짜. Can you hear it? Here's a short phrase that uses this double consonant to describe food. 짜요. It's salty. And here's a verb you can use in the kitchen. 찌다. To steam. Let's review this set of sounds side by side now. 자, 차, 짜. 종, 총, 종. 가자, 가차, 가짜. We will end this lesson by making a few sentences using words you already know. Today, you learned the phrase 싸요, meaning it's cheap. You can put the object you think is cheap, such as 도끼, an axe, at the beginning of the phrase to make a complete sentence. 도끼 싸요. An axe is cheap. Can you think of any other words to use in this sentence? You also learned 짜요. It's salty. Again, just put what you think is salty at the beginning. 치즈 짜요. Cheese is salty. That's it for double consonants. Not so hard, right? In the next 4 lessons, we're going to talk about something very important. It's what will help you go from recognizing characters to reading Korean. So be sure to watch. See ya! 여러분 다음에 또 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. You just finished learning about double consonants in Hangul. Combined with the original characters you learned early on, you now know 19 different consonant sounds in Korean. Are you able to distinguish between them all? In the next few lessons, we'll be talking about situations where different consonants collide, sometimes causing them to behave in ways you wouldn't expect. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it all. The more you learn, the more sense it will make. You might be wondering how consonants can collide. After all, the syllables we've made so far all have the same pattern: consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. Your Korean is about to take a step up, so pay close attention. The fact is, most Korean syllables are actually constructed with a pattern of consonant, vowel, consonant. Think about the word for Hangul: 2 syllables, 4 consonant sounds. Here's how you write the word for Hangul: Hangul. Notice how both syllables have 3 characters in them: the initial consonant, the vowel, and the final consonant. This final consonant is called a 받침. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Now the 받침 always goes on the bottom. Let's look at the structure of both of the consonants in Hangul. First, we go from left to right. 히읗, 아. Then we will put 니은 on the bottom. 한. The second syllable is even easier. From top to bottom, 기역, 으, 리을, 글. Syllables with a 받침 are more common than syllables with only 2 characters. Let's look at some examples. These 2 characters by themselves would be pronounced 파. Let's take the initial consonant and put it in the 받침 position as well. 밥. This means cooked rice. The consonant sound is exactly the same at the beginning and the end of the syllable. 밥. Here are a few more examples of the 받침. 안, inside. 봄, spring. 여름, summer. Simple so far, right? However, some consonants actually change their sound when they are in the 받침 position. Take 리을. It usually sounds like a mix between R and L in English. But when it's the 받침, it always becomes an L sound. 가을, autumn. 겨울, winter. Remember this guy? The ing? When it comes before the vowel, it makes no sound, remember? Listen to what happens when it comes after the vowel. 사랑, love. 선생님, teacher. It becomes an NG sound. If you know this, you can write one of the most well-known Korean phrases, hello. 안녕. The 받침 isn't so hard, right? You just need to watch out for the sound changes. We will finish up this discussion in the next lesson, so be sure to keep it up. See you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분, 다음에 다시 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분, koreanclass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on koreanclass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. We're continuing our introduction to the 받침 position, which refers to the consonant after the vowel in a syllable. There are 2 more rules where a consonant in the 받침 position has a different sound than what you would expect. That will be the subject of today's lesson. Remember, when we were learning the consonant sounds, we came across quite a few sounds which were more tense versions of other sounds. For example, 그, 크, 끄. This includes double consonants as well as aspirated consonants. In all of these instances, the sound reverts back to the softest sound. Let's look at one word for each consonant. Pay attention to the way the 받침 consonant sounds. 역, station. 부엌, kitchen. 밖, outside. 컵, cup. 앞, the front. 곳, soon. 밭, field. Got it? To summarize, if you see a strengthened consonant in the 받침, remove the strength from it. Ready for rule number 2? The following consonants all sound like 디귿 when they are in the 받침. 맛, taste. 낮, daytime. 놓다, to put. I said there are only 2 rules, but there is one instance where you actually use both the rules at once. These consonants are all strengthened consonants, so you would remove all the strength from them and get 시옷. But remember rule 2? 시옷 becomes 디귿 when it's in the 받침, so you would pronounce these 3 consonants as 디귿. 맛, taste. 있다, there is. 낮, afternoon. 꽃, flower. A lot to remember, but there's more. As I mentioned, when two consonants collide in Korean, sometimes special rules apply. In the next lesson, we're going to cover every single one of those rules so you won't get tripped up in the future. See you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we introduced the 받침 position, consonants at the end of syllables in Korean. We already saw some of the tricky ways consonants change their sound when they are in that position. Now we are going to explain what happens when two consonant sounds run into each other. There are 7 basic rules as shown here. Some scary names, right? But after you see some examples, I think you will understand why they exist and how to use them without needing to memorize any linguistic terms. Remember, all of these rules help the Korean language to be easier to pronounce. They take some getting used to, but they are worth the effort to learn. One important note, all of these rules affect how syllables are read. For the examples, I will write the way words sound in blue. The characters aren't actually changed, but just pronounced differently depending on these rules. Okay? Here's the first 받침 rule. This rule involves syllables with a 받침 coming before a syllable with a 이응 in the initial position. Remember how the 이응 in the initial position is just a placeholder and doesn't have any sound? So when this happens, the consonant in the 받침 position replaces the 이응. Imagine it this way. Korean syllables like to begin with a consonant sound. So if it is beginning with an 이응 and sees that the previous syllable has a 받침, it will steal it and use it as its own initial. Here's an important word. It's 한국어, meaning the Korean language. If you pronounce it syllable by syllable, it would be 한국어. But because the last syllable starts with an 이응 and the syllable before that has a 받침, the 받침 기억 would replace the 이응. Now 2 things happen. First, the last syllable now starts with a consonant sound instead of a vowel sound, from a to go. The sound that this 기억 makes changes from a K to a G sound because it's moving from 받침 to the initial position. Not 한국어, it's 한국어. There will be some complicated rules today, but eventually they will become second nature to you. Just keep listening to natural Korean and it will soon feel right to say 한국어 instead of 한국어. So with this rule, you really need to keep track of what we learned in the last lesson, how certain consonants change their sound when they are in the 받침 instead of the initial position. For example, we learned the last lesson that all of these consonants sound like 디귿 when they are in the 받침 position. But if they get moved to the initial position by this rule, they change back. So 옷은 would not be pronounced 옷은, but 옷은. Test how much you understand this rule by trying to read this word. Got it? It's 낮은 곳, not 낮은 곳. This rule is pretty simple and has 2 parts. First, if a 받침 and the following initial consonant are the same sound, the initial consonant becomes doubled. This is easy to see in the following words, 듣다 and 학교. But it can be a little trickier when the consonants are different, but have the same sound. Remember that 받침 쌍시옷 is read the same as 디귿 when it's in the 받침, so you need to remember to apply this rule here, 있다. There's one more part to this rule. The emphasized initial consonant not only happens when the consonants make the same sound, but also if 기역, 디귿, or 비읍 is in the 받침 position. No matter what the following initial is, if it can be doubled, it will be. 먹다, to eat. 학생, student. 갑자기, suddenly. 2 rules down, 5 more to go. In the next lesson, we will continue this discussion of a difficult but very important part of learning Hangul. See you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 또 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분, KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we began to talk about some rules for pronouncing the 받침. There are 7 rules and we covered the first 2 of them. We're going to cover the next 2 today. Here we go. This rule involves the combination of 히읗 with 기역, 디귿 or 비읍. Whenever one of those 3 consonants collide with 히읗, it changes into its aspirated version and the 히읗 goes away. Think of this rule as a variation of the first rule in the last lesson. Remember the way that a 받침 runs into the initial 이응 and replaces it? It's the same if the initial is a 히읗. Except as the 히읗 is replaced, it leaves behind something extra. Aspiration, 축하, 축하. The other difference is this. It doesn't matter which consonant is the 받침 and which is the initial. Even if the 받침 is a 히읗, it will affect the following consonant. What do you think will happen in this example? In this word, the 히읗 combines with the 디귿 and makes it aspirated. So it becomes a ti읕 sound. 놓다, 놓다. And here, the 비읍 combines with the 히읗 to become a 피읍. 답하다, 답하다. So whenever you see a 히읗 running into another consonant sound, you know that you need to watch out for possible sound changes. There are 2 parts to this rule. To understand the first part, you need to know that 3 of the consonants are considered nasally consonants: 이응, 니은, and 미음. Of course, 이응 is only nasal if it's in the 받침 position. So when one of these following sounds is in the 받침, 기역, 디귿, or 비읍, and is followed by a nasal sound, they will become nasal themselves. 기역 becomes 이응, 디귿 becomes 니은, and 비읍 becomes 미음. Let's try it out. We see a nasal consonant in the initial position of the second character. The previous 받침 is one of the 3 consonants that is replaced. 기역 becomes an 이응 sound, so 국물 becomes 국물. Here's another example. We have a nasal consonant after a 비읍 in the 받침 position. The 비읍 becomes a 미음, so 업무 becomes 업무. Here's one more common word. 습니다. 습니다 becomes 습니다. The second part of this rule has to do with the syllables beginning with 리을. When any of these consonants, 기역, 디귿, 비읍, 이응, or 미음, come before it, the 리을 changes to a 니은 sound. Notice that the characters involved in this part of the rule are the same used in the first part. Look at the following examples. You see the 리을 in an initial position. So now you need to check if the previous 받침 is in the list. It is, so you change the 리을 to a 니은. So 심리 becomes 심리. Easy so far, but don't forget about the first part of this rule. There are some times when you will need to use both parts. Try out this word. We need to change the 리을 to a 니은 sound, but look what happens as soon as we do that. That 니은 is one of the nasally characters we need to watch out for in the first part of this rule. Remember what we have to do? The 기역 becomes a 이응, so 독립 becomes 독립, 독립. Okay, this is the last example of the lesson. See if you can figure out how to pronounce it. Change the 리을 to a 니은 and then the 피읍 to an 미음. Got it? If you don't understand why these rules exist, trying to say the word exactly as it is written can help you understand. These rules take combinations of consonants that are difficult to pronounce and make them easier. Just one more lesson of these rules and you'll be done with the hardest part of Hangul. Keep going strong and meet me in the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 또 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 에이미입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. We are about to finish up our explanation of the 받침 rules. If you've made it this far, keep going. Hangul will get much easier once you've mastered these rules. You know 4 of the 7 basic rules, as shown here. We will learn the last 3 in this lesson. Whenever a 리을 and a 니은 meet, the 니은 becomes a 리을. This happens no matter whether the 니은 is in the 받침 or the initial position. This rule is called flowing because it really makes Korean easier to say. The transition between the 니은 and the 리을 sound is difficult to pronounce. Try to say this word without using the rule. 한, 라, 산. Can you see how 리을 and 니은 meet here? When we apply this rule, it will flow better. 한라산. It's a lot easier to say now, right? It works the same if the 리을 is the 받침 and the 니은 follows. So this is not 달나라, but 달라라. When 디귿 or 티읕 are in the 받침 position and meet the syllable E, only this exact syllable, E, then they will replace the 이응 and in the process, 디귿 becomes 지읒 and 티읕 becomes 치읒. No tricks, no exceptions. Let's break down the process with the word 같이, which means together. First, 티읕 replaces 이응, so it becomes 같이. But when it happens, the sound of 티읕 becomes 치읒, as we learned. So 같이 becomes 같이. There are a number of small rules related to the consonant 히읗. This is the softest consonant sound, so it might be useful to think of it as an aspirated version of 이응. It helps to think that way because the 받침 consonants 니은, 미음, 이응, and 리을 all replace the 히읗 in the following initial position exactly the same way 이응 gets replaced. What if nasal sounds 니은, 미음, 이응, and 리을 meet 히읗? In that case, 히읗 just goes away. Let's look at an example. Here is the phrase meaning because I like. Can you see 히읗 meets the nasal sound 이응? Although 이응 is just a placeholder when it meets 히읗, the sound of 히읗 just goes away. So you can read it as 좋아서 without H sound. Let's check another word meaning password in Korean. Can you read it? Here, 미음 meets 히읗. So the sound of 히읗 just goes away. So you can read it as 아무, not as 암호. Phew, you made it! If your mind is spinning from all these rules, try not to worry too much about it. As you get used to speaking the language, these rules will feel natural. Come back to these lessons after you learned a bit more about the language and review all the details. You're done with the worst of it. In the next lesson, we'll talk about double consonants in the 받침 position. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분, koreanclass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on koreanclass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we looked at some rules that change the sound of Hangul characters. In this lesson, we'll discuss what happens when you have not one, but two consonants in the 받침. That's right. Some syllables in Korean have as many as 4 different characters inside it. We can group the double consonants into 2 groups. The first group is where the same consonant is repeated. We saw how this happens in the initial position back in lesson 10. But in this lesson, we'll look at them in the 받침 position. The second group is 2 different consonants. This is unique to the 받침 position. First, we'll look at the repeated consonants. We've already covered what you need to do with this. Do you remember? You don't even need to pronounce it as a double consonant. For example, you could ignore the second 기억 in this word, 박. Don't forget about the 받침 rule you just finished learning about. If the following syllable begins with 이응, then the consonant in the 받침 position would replace it. In the case of doubled consonants, both will move to the next character. This sentence means it's delicious. How would you pronounce it? It's not 맛있어요, it's 맛있어요. Next, we need to look at situations where there are 2 different consonants in the 받침 position. Not all the consonants can be combined in this position. In fact, there are only 11 possible combinations, and some of these are very uncommon. The way you pronounce this depends on the following character, namely, if it begins with a consonant or a vowel sound. If the following character begins with a consonant, or there is no following character, you would pronounce these 2 consonants as just one consonant. And these 11 combinations are pronounced in one of only 5 ways. With the exceptions of these 3, you can just use the first consonant. The other ones use the last consonant. Here are a few examples. Don't forget about the 받침 rules you learned in the last few lessons. 읽다, to read. 없다, to not have. 젊다, to be young. 앉다, to sit. If the following syllable begins with a vowel sound, you will split up the double consonants across the syllables. In all cases, only the last consonant will jump over. 읽어요, I read. 없어요, I don't have. 넓어요, it's wide. 젊어요, I'm young. 앉아요, please sit down. Do you miss vowels yet? Well, you can relax because not only are we done with the consonants, but we are returning to vowels in the next lesson. It's the home stretch. So I'll see you in the next lesson of Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everybody, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we looked at double consonants in the bottom position. In this lesson, we're going to return to vowels. Yes, you already know all the vowels, but this time we're going to talk about combining vowels to make more complex sounds. We will look at 4 combinations today, all of which have the vowel E in them. Remember the first 2 characters you learned back in lesson 1? We will combine them first. A plus E makes E. Listen closely to this pronunciation.
에,
Here's an important word that uses this vowel. 내일. It means tomorrow. Here is a short sentence that we made back in lesson 5. 휴가 가요. Do you remember the meaning? It's I'm going on vacation. Let's add tomorrow to this sentence. 내일 휴가 가요. I'm going on vacation tomorrow. The next vowels we will combine are A and E. They make the sound E.
에,
What's the difference between this sound and the last one? Nothing. While these 2 vowels had distinct sounds in the past, these days they are pronounced basically the same. You can't interchange them, but at least you don't have to remember another vowel sound. Try to read this word. 3살. It means 3 years old. Here's that word in a sample sentence. 아이가 3살이에요. The child is 3 years old. The next double vowel is a sound that is almost as easy to remember as the last one. Take 에 and add a small stroke and we get 예.
예,
Remember, a second small stroke gives it a Y sound. 얘기 means talk or conversation. 얘기했어요 means I had a conversation. The last vowel today is an easy one too. 여 and E make 예.
예,
These 2 characters also have the same sound, but remember that they cannot be used interchangeably. 예약 means reservation. 호텔 예약을 하다 means I made a reservation for the hotel. Okay, 4 vowels, 2 sounds, not too bad, right? In this lesson, we introduced double vowels. In the next lesson, we'll continue learning them. See you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com 하나하나 한글 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we looked at 4 compound vowels. Those 4 vowels were a combination of 2 vertical vowels. Today, we will look at vowels that are a combination of 1 vertical and 1 horizontal vowel. To start off, let's use the simplest horizontal and the simplest vertical vowel, U and E. Together, U and E make 의.
의,
These vowels are pretty easy to read since it's not completely new sounds. It's just 2 vowel sounds combined together. For example, the sound of 의 is easy to catch because it goes from U to E. Try saying U and E in a row and get faster and faster until it becomes one sound. U, E, E. See? All of these vowels will have a space in the upper left corner where you can put the consonant. Take a look at the example word. 의미 means meaning. 의미. Let's make things just a little bit more complex. O and E together make 왜. This double vowel doesn't sound exactly like its individual parts.
회,
회사 means company. 회사. Moving on. O and A together make 와.
와,
O, A, 오와, 와. 과일 means fruit. 과일. U and 에 together make 왜. 오, 에, 왜.
왜,
Where means why. If you wanted to ask someone the question why, you could say 왜요? 왜요? Before the end of this lesson, let's go over all these vowels one more time. 의, 왜, 와, 왜. That's it. In the next lesson, we will finish up the rest of the vowels and you will know everything about Hangul. You're almost there, so I'll see you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com Hana Hana Hangul 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. In the last lesson, we began looking at vowels that combine horizontal and vertical strokes, and we learned 4 of them. In this lesson, we will finish up the double vowels and the Hangul, with just 3 more sounds. U and E together make we. U, E, we.
위,
We means up. We. By the way, the opposite of we is 아래. Down, 아래. And another example is 뒤, which means back. 뒤. And the opposite of 뒤 is up. Front, up. U and A together make 와. U, A, 와.
워,
Here are a few phrases that you will get a lot of use out of in Korean. 고마워요 means thank you. 고마워요. And 뭐예요 means what is it? 뭐예요. And the last double vowel is this. U and 에. Together make 왜. U, 에, 왜.
왜,
Here are a few words that originally come from English. waiter means waiter. waiter. And wedding means wedding. wedding. Before the end of this lesson, let's go over all these vowels one more time. 의, 왜, 와, 왜, 위, 워, 왜. That's it! You've learned everything there is to know about the Korean writing system. Great job! By finishing this important step, you can now study the Korean language in its natural form without relying on romanization system. And you've gained an invaluable insight into how the language works that will help you even when you're just listening and speaking. In our last lesson, I'll help you take the first step in the transition from learning the writing system to using the writing system to learn Korean. See you on the next Hana Hana Hangul. 여러분 다음에 만나요. 안녕하세요 여러분. KoreanClass101.com Hana Hana Hangul 시리즈의 Amy입니다. Hi everyone, I'm Amy and welcome to Hana Hana Hangul on KoreanClass101.com, the fastest, easiest, and most fun way to learn Hangul, the Korean alphabet. Do you remember way back to lesson 1 of this series? We learned a, I, and the placeholder 이응. You only knew 3 characters, But now you know 51 and can read about 11,000 letters in Korean. In this lesson, we'll stop learning the writing system and begin using it. You will learn a lot of important Korean phrases that you will find yourself using all the time. Let's see how many you can read. Are you ready? Okay, here is the first phrase. How would you read this one? Let me give you 3 seconds. Did you read it? It is read 먹다, and it means to eat. Did you get it right? If not, you may have forgotten about the bottom rule named fortis. When 기역, 디귿, or 비읍 is in the bottom position, like 기역 of 먹, the next consonant can be doubled. So 다 becomes 따, 먹다. Then let's read this one. Can you read it correctly? It's easy, right? It's 밥, meaning rice in Korean, with the verb 먹다, to eat, and this noun, rice, 밥, you can say to eat rice in Korean. Unlike English, you say the noun before the verb. You also need a special particle, seen here. Can you read it? It's 을, and it marks the noun as an object to the verb. 밥 is the object of the verb 먹다, to eat. So you should add the particle 을 after the noun 밥. But as you can see, there's no word spacing between 밥 and 을. Then how do you read them all together? Let me give you 3 seconds to read it. You read it as 밥을. 이응 is just the placeholder, so when there's bottom right before 이응, the sound of the bottom moves to the next syllable. Not 밥을, it's 밥을. Altogether, you can say 밥을 먹다. This means to eat rice. When the object noun doesn't have bottom, you can use the particle 를 instead, such as 나를, meaning me. What about this one? Can you read it? If you read it as 같이, think about it once again. When 디귿 or 티읕 are in the bottom position and meet the syllable 이, then 디귿 becomes 지읒, and 티읕 becomes 치읒. In this case, 티읕 meets the syllable 이. So 티읕 becomes 치읒. So you can read it as 같이, which means together, or together with someone else. So you can say 밥을 같이 먹다, to mean to eat rice together. And let's take a look at one more sentence. Can you read this one? It may be difficult, but let's try to read it step by step. First, 예술. It means art. And the next one, 의. It means of. But unlike English, the noun is before 의, so 예술의 means something of art. Then let's check the next noun, 전당. It's easy, right? It means hall. So 예술의 전당 means hall of the art or art hall. Let's read it one more time. 예술의 전당. But when 의 is used as a particle, it is usually read as 에, because it's easier to say. 예술의 전당. Then what about the last one? 에서. It's the place marking particle like at or in English. So 예술의 전당에서 means at the art hall. If you keep reading this phrase again and again, you would be a master of doubled vowels. 예술의 전당에서. Then let's read the whole sentence now. 예술의 전당에서 밥을 같이 먹다. So what's the subject? To make a name or pronoun into the subject, you can simply put the particle 은 or 는 after it. For example, 나는, 나 means I, and 는 is the particle making it the subject. Or you can use your name. For example, my Korean name 은영, but in that case, the last syllable 영 has 받침, So you use the particle 은 instead of 는. 은영은 예술의 전당에서 밥을 같이 먹다. If your name is Matt or Matt, if you put it in Korean, you can say Matt는 예술의 전당에서 밥을 같이 먹다. Here we use the particle 는 because Matt doesn't have 받침. And now it's your turn. Can you write your name in Hangul and put it into this sentence? Remember that the subject marking particle is 은 if your name has a 받침 and 는 if it ends in a vowel sound. Alright, you have reached the end of Hana Hana Hangul and made an important step toward learning Korean. But your Korean journey has just begun. If you want to continue learning, check out the absolute beginner lessons on KoreanClass101.com. Good job everyone! And goodbye. 안녕히 계세요.